book, and then we'll start introductions. Okay, all right, so introductions. I'm Jen McKenzie, and K-12 district teacher librarian here in Siuslaw. And to my left is Hope. Do you want to go for it?
Sure, yeah. Hi, I'm Hope Snedden, and I'm the library assistant at the high school.
And I should have said, you can also say something about how or why you're a maker, what brought you to the session tonight. So next up on my screen is Julia.
Hi, I'm Julia Craig. I'm here at the elementary school, and I guess I'm interested because I think all my life my sisters and I have been making things, and I love experimenting in lots of different mediums.
All right, and Julia, you're gonna really enjoy some of the Almeida Fire Relief projects that Alli has going on, because some of them include making furniture. Next up on my screen, Gigi, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Okay. Hi, I'm Gigi. I am in Medford, and I worked with Jen before, and I just decided to come on and see what everybody's doing.
And Gigi's a maker queen. You forgot that. You left that bit out. I'm gonna wait for Alli until we get through everyone else. So next is Andreas. Go for it.
Hello. Yeah, so I'm the library tech at the middle school. I like to do Makerspace. I mean, I grew up with Legos, so, but I also like, in college and stuff, really like doing found art kind of things, and you know, some old mechanics type of things too. So, yeah.
Thank you so much for that. So next up for introductions is Anna.
Hi, I'm Anna Moser. I'm the world studies teacher at the high school, 10th grade. And yeah, I guess I probably need a hobby, so.
Hey Anna, I just dropped off your maker kit like maybe an hour ago on the curbside pickup cart too. Also we have joining us Rachel Henry. I'm not sure, it looks like she's still connecting to audio. I thought this would be a really cool connection for you, Alli, because I believe Rachel was one of your former students, possibly. Once her camera and audio comes on, it's going to be like a big surprise for you. I think she said she looked you up in her yearbook, and maybe she had you as a teacher in the 6th grade.
Oh, I'm unforgettable in 6th grade because I was teaching puberty, and so I'm pretty sure that if Rachel had me in class, she would remember. Although I didn't have gray hair back then, probably.
Well, Alli, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, and we'll have Rachel as soon as she connects.
Right on. Thank you. Thanks for having me. This is so cool, and thanks for giving up some time at the end of a long day, which I'm sure you have all had, and thanks for teaching and doing the stuff that you're doing with kids, because that is so important right now, especially. I taught for a long time. I worked with Jennifer briefly in Medford. We were on the ed tech cadre together, and then she asked me to do a little tour of our makerspace here and talk about some of the things that we've been doing. And I just hinted that I was a health and wellness teacher. So I have a master's in science because I was always a science nerd, but I taught health for a long time. So I did the sex and drugs and that curriculum. So for 22 years, but I also did some CTE classes in the school newspaper and that kind of stuff. So my background's in teaching, which has made our makerspace have sort of a different slant. It's really ed focused. We do a lot of stuff with students, and I am briefly I'm gonna do a little intro saying I am a woodworker, and that's what kind of making I have done most of my life as a hobby. And when we started the makerspace and we had the 3D printers all set up, I didn't get them. I didn't get why. I was so like, what is the point? It's a waste of plastic. Why are we doing these things? And I just didn't get it, honestly, until COVID hit and we became part of a group of about, started out small, but it ended up being about 100 of us, working and prototyping for Asante here in the Valley when there just wasn't enough PPE for everybody. And in fact, like 2 hours ago, we got a phone call from Asante asking us to make some other things right now. So I'll do a little, I'll do a walk and talk. How about that? Because I know we're limited on time and I want to honor all of your time because it's been a day. So I'm sitting in our distant learning studio. We switched gears when COVID hit so we could still serve students in a different way. So we did hands-on STEM related programming this summer where we dropped off STEM kits and they did those for camp. So it was our sewing section. So you can see that the fiber works as a sound buffer. And then we have a whole sewing section. So we do sewing, we do memberships normally for adults. And we see a lot of students as well. So we have all kinds of workshops. This is our screen printing area here. There we go. Talent Maker City t-shirt, but we've got a 4-color screen printing press. We have a heat press and a vinyl cutter as well back over here. And then, oh, I hope I don't make any of you car sick right now or motion sick. That's our conveyor dryer that allows us to do like 100 t-shirts in an hour. It was a lot slower before. Leftover face shield brackets because we ended up printing those when we were short on PPE. We've got boxes of those. We have a 3D printing farm, and right now we're printing out some stuff for Asante, some respirator connectors that they were short on that they're having us do some printing out on now. We've got these 6 Prusa 3D printers kind of all going gangbusters over here. And we also have 3 Ultimakers behind us that have dual filament. Like I said, I wasn't a 3D printer before, really before March. I had done it sort of hobby-wise and had to kind of up the game here. I rely on Ryan very much for converting files and stuff here. We also have 2 laser engravers in this tiny little room that are crammed in here that we do a lot of different things with it's kind of fun. Moving over here. Not going to show you the dark room because it's just dark in there. Let me grab a mask because I'm going in a room with other people. We've got our space is kind of quarantined off a little bit here. We've got plastic curtains up. I think you can probably see them that go into our wood shop back there. So it keeps the dust out, but it also allows me to be in this large room without my mask on. But since I'm going in there, I hope you can all still hear me. All right. We are currently, since the fire, so the fire, I'm going to just do this too. I'm walking outside. This is the front of our space. And literally across the street over there is where the fire stopped. So we were really lucky that our building was spared. Since we were the aid station here in Talent for food and water and everything right after the fire, everybody sort of turned to us because we're a community makerspace, and we just ended up responding. So people knew us about responding for COVID, and then we ended up partnering with a few other nonprofits to help with that. And now we're partnered up with Girls Build, which is an organization outside of Portland, Oregon. They're amazing. And we have been cranking out beds for folks who lost them in the fire. So we've been making bed frames, and that's what's going on in here. So it's gonna be a little bit louder. Here we go. A lot louder. So this is our full wood shop in here. And we've got, there we go. There you can see bed frame come into action right there. This is Katie and Stevia. They're very busy. Look at that. Look at them. They're perfect timing here while they're taking it apart. So we're making 2 queen bed frames. There's the other one. And I'll get out of the wood shop now so I can continue talking to you. So we've been making bed frames. We have a goal of completing 80. We've finished 20, those 24 and 25 that are in there. We were lucky enough to have mattresses donated from local organizations. The bed frames is sort of just a starter for us. We're really working closely with the schools on the students that we were doing workshops with students, and we had to stop that like right after Thanksgiving because everybody traveled, and at least they were honest about telling us they'd gone to see family. So we were working with students who were originally building the beds. In January, when we come back, students will be back building those beds again. And working with us. And they're students who were actually impacted by the fire, or they go to the Phoenix Talent School District, which had the most students impacted. So we have been doing everything from more training to work with students in trauma. I mean, any of you that are teaching right now are working with students who have suffered trauma just because of COVID. And so we're having all of our instructors kind of go through more professional development around working in particular with students who have gone through more trauma just here in our town. And then we're moving into doing other furniture. So after that, we're actually working on becoming a registered pre-apprenticeship location, which would help fast track some students in the trades if they want to be part of rebuilding our community. And so it's kind of a big, broad, you know, we start with Makerspace. You can talk about sewing and 3D printing and vinyl cutting. And we also have a kiln and ceramics. We have all of those things, but probably our big focus for the next few years is going to be starting some of those skills with introductory workshops on, we've been doing, our summer camps have everything from like build your own skateboard to designing 3D printed cones for rocketry with the old school bike pump where they launch them and they're measuring how high they go and everything else. So we're a little bit of everything. Got a little bit of everything going on, but probably we're going to be focusing a little bit more on fire recovery for the next few years. I think we're in it for the long haul here in Talent. So that was a quick tour. I wanted to be mindful of time, but I also wanted to know if anybody had any questions, because I can talk about this for hours and sometimes I get going. And so I want to pause.
Hey, Alli, thank you so much for the tour. And this is what I discover about makers is like you get makers together and we will go on for hours and hours because we're all creative spirits and we just want to share. So I've been letting quite a few people in. And so just for new people who have joined, we're with Alli French, Makerspace Queen in Talent City, well, in Talent, Oregon, it's the Talent Maker City. And we do have at about, I think we said we were going to do like 3:25, Patrick Looney is going to share some of the Siuslaw Makerspace. And then we have Chelsea joining us and she's going to, she's an elementary teacher. And guess what, everyone, like all elementary teachers are makers, just by virtue of what they do daily. So so let's take at least like 10 minutes of, 5-10 minutes of questions right now about all the amazing stuff that Alli's doing.
Yeah, if somebody has a quick question, but I'm going to echo about the elementary teachers. We actually do a lot of professional development with the SOU student teachers. We go through the engineering design process. It's on the wall back there behind some of our lighting. And talk about failing and allowing kids to fail, which everybody says, which I think is great. But I remember when I was teaching, you're like, oh, that's so great in theory, let them fail. And then when do you have time to let them redo it? Because we don't allow that time to redo anything, which is the last step is like improve your design and redo it. And I remember always being so crunched with like, well, 32 kids in a classroom or 30 kids in a classroom, and then multiply that times your 6 periods at the high school or 7 classes, depending on if you're in a block schedule or not. And you think, wait, let them redo it? Like I'm gonna grade that again. It seems so unrealistic, but it is so necessary to allow for that time to let students kind of mess it up and redo it and know that messing it up, I didn't show off in the 3D printed room. We just had two prints fail for Asante. That it just happens. And then you're like, well, okay, why did it fail? Is it the bed not hot enough? What's happening? As it's coming out the feed, and having to troubleshoot that. And if you never have those things happen, you don't know how to fix them. So so elementary teachers for sure, makers all the way. So
hey, can I ask you a quick question, Alli? And I was just going to say, you are so amazing in the service learning and the community outreach. I mean, did you ever envision that when you first set up the Talent Maker City? And if you could just say, like, maybe speak to that and just say, I know we're in the middle of a pandemic, pre-pandemic. You were working with the ESD and also Talent Maker City to circulate mobile maker spaces and to circulate all the things that schools can't often purchase or buy themselves. So do you want to kind of speak to that too?
About the STEM lending library? For sure, yeah. In fact, we still have a couple things from the ESD that are here kind of on permanent loan. One of those laser engravers is from the ESD, and that's on permanent loan. We have a partnership with the Education Service District here in Southern Oregon where we can use the tools and equipment, or I was doing professional development teaching other teachers how to use them so they could check them out from the lending library. So they have pretty extensive library with robotics kits and VEX kits for high school level, wind turbine kits, and then mini vinyl cutters, 3D printers that could be checked out. So they've really expanded it to make it more accessible for teachers. And I think it helped that I was like the health teacher. Everybody thought, well, if the health teacher can do it, I can do it, right? So it makes it a little bit more accessible. If you're like, all you have to do is try, you know, there's no expectation you're gonna figure it out in the first 5 minutes, but giving it a try. So, the lending library is a tremendous resource. You also asked if we envisioned it being such a service to the community or community-based. I'd say that was in, Ryan is the other, he's our executive director, and it's pretty much the two of us are our only full-time staff. Everybody else is kind of hired on as contractors. We both have that kind of heart, but I don't think it was written into our business plan. The idea was to have it be about economic development for our region and for our downtown area in talent. But you know, when I taught, I was like, I did our freshman orientation. I was the advisor for the Gay Straight Alliance. I was, you know, it was like, you can't work with students and not have compassion built in. Like all of you sitting here, I know that that's part of your DNA because that's the work you're doing. So I think it became a natural bridge for us to be a resource for the community during COVID, during the fire. Because of both of our personalities, even though it wasn't necessarily baked into the business plan, but Talent's a small town, and all of our workshops were about building community and having students connect with each other. Our programming that we do in middle school and after school programming is primarily through migrant education. So we look at everything through an equity lens on how to build up girls and students of color in STEM fields. So I think it just sort of, it wasn't our core focus, although now it is. Like we couldn't do what we're doing without moving that front and center. And so thanks for asking that. I don't know if I've ever articulated that, but it was sort of here on the side, and now all of those things are front and center.
Yeah, well, while you were saying that, I was just thinking about how, you know, Makerspaces are part of 21st century libraries, and in the field of librarianship, we're constantly having to advocate for everything. And so I think that piece, just the community-centric focus also makes it easy to advocate for Makerspaces, because sometimes when you say Makerspace, people don't always understand what it is, you know, and they think not everyone knows what a Makerspace is. So thank you for that. What other questions do we have from our Siuslaw people?
I was wondering, like, how long it took to, I guess, get all of this started. Like, what kind of time frame are we looking at from like the first seeds to what it looks like now?
I took a year off of teaching in 2015, and from 2015 to 2016, and then became a seed in like May of 2016. By December, we had our nonprofit status. It was like this idea, and we thought, oh, this will be fun. And then worked for free for like 2 years. That's why I was at the ESD. I worked part-time at the ESD. We were kind of all piecing together other things while we were working and building this. We started without a space. We actually used the schools in the area for our workshops. So we did a wood shop at Ashland High School. We used the middle school for all of our summer programming because we didn't have a space. I mean, it's a lot of overhead for a space. So it's been 3 solid years. We've only been in this building for 2. And we're getting courted to sort of be at the center of a new development. And then you get into city politics. I don't know how I feel about that, but they want us to have a bigger space, which then suddenly you have more overhead, and then you're having to write grants and do more fundraising. And so there's a lot of decisions when it starts to take off about, you know, what direction you want to go. So it's been about 3 solid 3 solid years. Yeah. Thanks for asking that.
And it's been really beautiful to watch you all grow and flourish. It's been amazing.
Thanks, Jennifer.
Any other questions for Alli, or we can kind of move along. I want to give Gigi Michaels a shout out, and I want to pop up some slides I have real quick just so I can share her awesome. Is it okay if we move on, Alli? And please, anyone at any point.
Absolutely, yeah. I wanted to make sure there's time to hear about the other ones. I'm curious about the Florence Makerspace and the other things getting talked about. So
yeah, so I'm going to do a quick
having me, everyone. That was very, very nice.
Yes, let's go over here, and you should now be seeing, are you seeing my slides? Can you give me a thumbs up? Awesome, okay. All right, so I'll cruise through this stuff. Hey, we have another Makerspace session tomorrow. In my spare time, I art journal and I add circuitry to it. So tomorrow's session is about all of that. Just email me if you still want a kit and you haven't gotten one. Everyone should have gotten their Flipgrid ornaments by now. And I was just saying, Makerspaces are a part of 21st century libraries. Here's a picture of a little structure inside of the Chicago Public Library. And then, I mean, also a Makerspace can be something as simple as a cart in your library. So just want to share that. And then let me get to some slides of awesome. So I just want Gigi to be able to share her awesome, and then we'll hop over to Patrick. But I worked at South Medford High School for a decade, and I was the teacher librarian for the last 5 years of my career there. Like we said, Makerspaces can be physical or virtual. Like all librarians across the country have gone virtual now. Like Shannon McClintock Miller makes all these beautiful virtual maker boards, like learning grids. At South, we did a lot of learning stations, and Gigi can speak to that. And then we also had class collaborations. And so on this slide, we would always have something at our front counter that students could experiment and touch and explore when they walked in. And so you can't really see super clearly in this picture, but there's an old Mac sitting next to a typewriter, sitting next to the Chromebooks that the kids signed in on, right? And we always had, this was like type poetry or something. Actually, this was the brainchild of Gigi. We had this whole entire maker music corner with a piano and checkoutable ukuleles and guitars and recording equipment and speakers. And before I left South Medford High School, we bought a keytar. Do you remember keytars from the 80s? We got a keytar for our music makerspace. I never even got to pull it out of the box before the pandemic hit. So anyway, we did a lot of stuff, and we did the individual stations, especially like this time of the year, just calming stations where students, if they're stressed out, they can just sit down and like do some art. Gigi, will you please share just take a minute to share about these two activities. So these were community unity collaborations between our elementary students who needed to learn and needed an experience, and then our high school students who were excelling in their content area, and they needed to expand and to teach. So we, in our libraries, linked the two groups up together, and they all included maker activities. So Gigi, I'm going to mute myself. Go ahead.
Okay, I didn't know I was a guest speaker. So when I came to work at South, I came from an elementary school, and I kind of got the idea of creating the Community Unity Project because I knew that a lot of the elementary schools were a little bit scared about growing up and going to high school. And so I thought that bringing them here and connecting them with high school students and bringing them onto the campus would give them something to look forward to in the future, and building a relationship where they didn't see high school as a scary place to go, but as a fun place to go with lots of caring teenagers. And so we set up the program so that the younger students would come to the school and do age-appropriate learning activity and also a makerspace activity. And the high school students would be the leaders in teaching it and in interacting with the students. And it turned out to be just a beautiful relationship.
I couldn't find my mute. The two pictures that you're looking at, this one was a robotic-centric recycled robots kind of maker activity. And I will say that that we were working with students from one of our behavioral classrooms. So like real maker activities are just a really good way to connect with human beings in general. And then this other picture, did we do, oh, this was another robotics. We did another social emotional learning community unity collab. And this picture in the upper right-hand corner is so special because these were what grade were they, Gigi? The high school kids were working with their former elementary teachers plus the elementary students. Yeah, and it was so special. So thank you so much for being a spontaneous guest speaker, Gigi. I really appreciate it. So I'm going to stop now, and Patrick did join us. So let me stop sharing my screen. And Patrick, I think if you are with us, and you're up next to share about the Siuslaw.
I am as well. Sorry about this. This is kind of a last minute thing. And I'm on my phone because I figured it'd be easier to do a tour, so I had to pan back and forth. I am actually the founder of the Florence Makerspace. We started about 2 years ago. Right now, it's actually just kind of dormant because of COVID right now, but we're over on Kingwood, trying to kind of show you how the best way to do this. Basically, the Makerspace was started as a passion project of mine. I wanted to bring like-minded people in the community together to maybe collaborate on tools, just collaborate on projects. There wasn't really a good way for us to all to meet and get together. You know, there was a couple of us that liked 3D printing. There was a couple of us that liked the woodworking tools and stuff. And the Makerspace was our way of kind of collaborating. So I happened to have a warehouse over on Kingwood. I had Florence Sign Shop, and it was next door. So I got the space and kind of outfitted it with a bunch of tools. I'll go ahead and kind of quickly go over those. They're the same maker tools that Talent likely has. Our space is very small because, you know, we're kind of grassroots funded. I basically kind of keep the thing going. We have a couple people that help fund it, Precious Plastics and stuff. Let me see if I can flip my camera around here. So we've got, this is a 24-inch vinyl cutter. So it's a standard thing that came out of our old sign shop. So, you know, it does vinyl cutting, just about anything you can think of. We used it for our professional signs, so it's a sign cutter. Then we've got a couple of these, which is 3D printers. You know, they're standard, they're called FDM printers, but they're additive based. You know, we do all sorts of little projects with them. This is one of the robots we built, and it's off right now, but it's a sand table. So it actually does, it's a CNC machine underneath it. So underneath it's got all of the parts and electronics and the Arduino controller, and then it does sand patterns. So it's kind of fun, and it's basically just a demo piece, but it's a nice project. This is an arcade machine we built with the CNC machine. It's themed after Exploding Whale. It has a bunch of games and that kind of stuff, but again, it's just a side project, but it gets people and kids interested and lets them see what their potential is. So this is the office, and then we go back in the warehouse. This is kind of Precious Plastics setup. Precious Plastics is a plastic recycling place. They grind down different types of plastics and clean them, and then they grind them through this extruder thing, and then they heat them into like tiles and various other projects. It's kind of a niche thing that a couple senior citizens in town do. They built or had the machines built, so it's kind of a neat thing. This is our large format printer. So I forgot to mention this in the thing, but we do have a 54-inch large format sign printer. It does banners, vehicle wrap graphics, that kind of thing. So bear with me here. So, and this is our laser cutter. It's kind of tiny, but we're hoping to get a bigger one soon. So it does this kind of stuff. Laser etches wood. Sorry, it's kind of a mess. We had everybody over here, but it does neat projects. This is my little bathymetric map we did with it. So it's a map of Florence. Kind of cool stuff. But again, you've got people interested in GIS, just the conversion stuff, and it does these kind of things. So these are some of the Christmas ornaments we make for various things. We did over 100 of them for the city for various different things, but they're little 2-layer Christmas ornaments.
They
and then
are
there's a little
beautiful. absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, so it's neat, and it's all made with that little guy. So, and then this is a new robot that we're making, and it is designed to go across this table here. So it rolls across the table, and it actually cuts. It's a large CNC, so it can do just about any kind of project, still in pieces, but it actually works fine. I tend to take things apart. So let's see, this is the other CNC machine. Again, we built this in the shop. It's all 3D printed and then assembled with hardware store conduit, but it also made this. So it's fully capable of doing some really fancy stuff. Again, I'm more interested in getting people interested in how it all works. So I like building the things as a hobby. So, you know, I made this as a test piece, but, you know, somebody could take the tools and make production work or do Etsy things, that kind of stuff. So let's see what else. We do a lot of robotic stuff. That's where I specialize in. So we do drones. We build our own drones, do different projects for that. We do a lot of workshops, or we did until COVID hit. We were, I joined RAIN, which is the Regional Arts Innovation Network in Eugene, and they did some stuff here. Sorry if I'm talking kind of fast. And then we have all sorts of stuff. This is another 3D printer. This is the latex, or sorry, it uses UV resin ink. So it dips this thing down and gets a little higher detail, but sorry for the product, but it makes that kind of stuff. So it's very detailed. It makes plastic stuff, different type of printer than the normal one. And then of course, this is another robot we made. It draws on eggs and golf balls. You know, it has a little thing here, and we did it for Easter for the kids. But anyway, that's kind of the general makerspace. Here's another thing we made. So again, that's similar to the one we just installed in the middle school wood shop. It's going to be able to do this similar kind of thing. I'm working with TJ, getting it set up with the right files, and he's hoping to be able to do this kind of stuff for the students, or at least offer the opportunity. So
Hey,
it's kind of a rundown.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Sorry if I'm interjecting.
No worries.
We need to, our library staff and we need to think of ways that we can collaborate in the future. One thing I did at my last school was our engineering teacher was doing all the 3D printing in his classes, but his kids did not have open access to the 3D printers. So we were working on a grant to get 3D printers in our libraries. So anyway, I want to, in the future, just let's think, I'm so excited to think of ways to collaborate with you and support everything that you're doing, because that place is awesome. That is so cool.
It's kind of niche, but again, we'd like to do it more workshops. And the idea was to get it started and then kind of maybe eventually get to a bigger space, you know, outfit a larger warehouse, or maybe custom build one that's designed for it. But it's more of a community resource. I didn't do it to make money. I didn't do it for a business model. I did it to bring people together and, you know, get them started and see how things work. You know, we fix people's 3D printers. Matter of fact, I've seen a couple around the school that I'll probably resurrect, and you know, they've been sitting dormant for a while, so I might try to figure out what's wrong with them and get them together and that kind of stuff, just because I'm the tinkerer by trade. So I just that's what I like doing, is fixing things. So anyway, that's kind of just a rundown. I was going to show you how this one works, but I'll do that a little bit later. So, but yeah.
What questions do we have for Patrick and the Florence Makerspace?
And we do have a website. I have it turned off right now because it lets you book workshops and things. But because of COVID, I got inundated with questions and if we were going to be open and when that was going to be. So I just kind of parked it for now, so I didn't have to filter through all of the questions now. So, but yeah, that's why the website is not there. Oh, I'm losing you. There.
Sorry, it's been challenging as a business. Like we always think of libraries as almost like a business. It's been challenging to connect with our patrons in the middle of COVID. I know our public library has been doing curbside pickup maker kits, and our Siuslaw libraries are attempting to start that as well. So you're amazing. That was so awesome.
So yeah, sorry about the rushness. I was just kind of last minute. So
no, thank you for last minute joining us as well. Do we want to move on to Chelsea's share out? And I'm sure we'll all have lots of questions for everyone at the end, maybe. Does that sound good to you? Okay, all right, Chelsea, are you
Thanks for the time.
Yes, thank you.
And I do have a slideshow. I'm not sure if I'm able to present. Let me see if I can. Oh, does look like I can. I think I can share it. Let's see. Are you guys, let's see if it'll show. There we go. All right, are you guys able to see the PowerPoint? Is that what you're seeing right now? I hope.
I'm fascinated. Okay. Tell us.
So I'm just going to share out just a little bit about what elementary is doing. Just as elementary school teachers, I'm sure many of us can agree, you have to really be creative during this time on what kids are actually going to be doing at home, to kind of get out of the zone of doing hardcore curriculum and actually getting to make and have fun with projects and get to use their hands. So these are just some of the projects that I have sent home. I am a teacher that does live recordings. So I actually pre-record all of my lessons, and then I'm available live if my students need me. But for the most part, they're working on these projects through videos and tutorials on their own. I do teach 2nd grade. So my kids are maybe a little bit more in the zone of working independently. And again, a lot of these projects, I'm just gonna outright say it, would not be possible without my aide, who is my second pair of hands and eyes, and I come up with these ideas and somehow she helps me make them happen. So
she is so fast. Like, she is super fast.
She's really good, and I'm so happy I have her to work with this year. So these are just a few projects in the last couple of weeks that the kids have been able to make. All of the projects that I send home have to do with the lesson that we have learned. So in this picture, you'll see a couple kids that have done owls. This is when we were actually learning about owls. We did a fiction and a nonfiction, and then the kids actually got to build their own owl. And you can see they just come in a variety of owls, which is so unique to the kid. Down below, these are actually masks that the kids got to make. We did a whole section on Chinatown and Chinese New Year, and so the kids actually got to make Chinese New Year dragon masks, which is really cool, and they got to learn the significance behind the mask and significance about color. And so you'll notice that a lot of these masks have red. Well, red is a good luck color, so that's why a lot of these kids chose to do the red on their masks. These are some creative cards that the kids have been making. I do have the holiday card, and actually I have it behind me, so you can kind of see a closer view. So this is actually a 3D pop-up card that the kids make. And so the kids did a video tutorial on how to make these pop-up cards. So they get to do a Christmas one, of course, because we're in the holiday season. And then this one that is with the cat is actually based off the when we started learning about fables. And this fable was about belling a cat and how some things are easier said than done. And so the kids got to make a pop-up 3D craft just to kind of go along with our fables theme. This is a recent one. You can kind of just see the expressions on the kids' faces. This is an ornament that they got to make yesterday. It's really simple. It's foam and glue and scissors, and the kids got to make a really fun project that they can give to somebody over the holiday. Again, we do provide all the materials for the students. So when we're sending home these projects, we are making actual Ziploc bags, which I'm sure most of us got, you know, our little Makerspace with the card. It's very similar to that. So we actually send home these kits for the kids to make, and then they know not to pull them out until they see the video telling them to do so.
Hey, I'm going to jump in real quick, and just for the out-of-district people, Siuslaw Elementary has this super streamlined bi-weekly materials distribution. Librarians across the state are asking me, like, how are you getting that stuff to the kids? And I'm like, it's this beautiful, beautiful streamlined materials distribution. Either parents are pulling up curbside every other week to pick up supplies, or there's a super sophisticated coordinated bus route drop-off system. So I just have to throw that out there, because usually people are like, this is awesome, but how do you get the stuff to the kids? Thank you.
Yeah, and so it is every 2 weeks. And so every 2 weeks we're giving these kids their materials. We also get to do science, which is really fun. And of course, our science isn't like blowing things up usually, but we get to do some fun science. So the kids actually got to do, up on the top, you'll see it was, can you build a house out of paper, and how high can you actually build a paper structure? And so the kids actually had this challenge to build a paper structure. And we sent, again, home all the materials, all the paper materials and paper clips that they would need for this project, just in case at home they don't have these things. Below is a funny one because it was actually kind of a social experiment, or it turned into one. They had to design a hat that could withstand weather. And you can tell by the expressions on some of the kids' faces, especially with two of the girls, they were not happy with how their hats turned out. And they very much made a video letting Miss A know about how this project did not work out for them. But again, it's really a fun learning experience because sometimes these projects won't work out. And so they can tell you, and then of course they can always try again and send in their new design that they decided to do. When I say that these kids are getting video tutorials, this is kind of what it looks like. These are 2 screenshots of what my Siuslaw account looks like. So at the top, you'll see this was what the kids were seeing when they saw the dragon mask project. So they're given an example of what the dragon masks should somewhat look like in color. And then they're actually given a video on how to walk through the project. Usually the videos, depending on the project, they can be very short or they can be very long. So during those long videos, I actually have breaks built in saying, pause the video at this time and take a 5-minute break. Walk away, do something else for a minute and come back. When it comes to science, you know, and a lot of the elementary team that is familiar with the science that we use here at the elementary school, we use Science Doug. And I simply put the science link into my Siuslaw. The kids follow along with it, and then when they're done with the project, they're able to take a picture of their science project. I do require all of my kids to take a picture whether it turns out or not, because I want to see what they did and maybe what happened, either if it went really, really great or maybe something just did not work out. And I want to know why, because that also helps me become a better teacher when it comes to my tutorials. This project behind me too is another one that my kids are going to be seeing here on Friday. Personally, when I made this project, I did not realize that it was going to be super long. So turns out Friday is going to be an entire day of making this project. But again, that was a learning experience for me. And so the kids will actually get to have fun. They get breaks in between, and they'll get to make a fun holiday themed art project. I also do, and Jennifer, this is one of the projects you saw when you came to visit me. I also do some science and art projects that are combined, so they're cross-curricular. So I love Science Doug, but sometimes I don't. And so I decide to do my own thing. And so this would be an example of one of the things that I decide to do. So Science Doug does a really cool mini lesson about snow and why snow is white, and the kids seem to really like it, but I didn't really love his experiment. So what I did is I decided to do an experiment of our own. And so this snowflake is actually a really easy snowflake to do. And all the kids are doing is a borax and warm water science experiment with pipe cleaners. And so what they do is I provide the pipe cleaners, thanks to Penny. She cut out all the pipe cleaners for me, and each of the kids didn't have to worry about cutting pipe cleaners. They just had to worry about twisting them, which surprisingly was a challenge for 2 of my friends. And I am not sure why we did not know how to twist pipe cleaners, but we solved that problem. And they simply put this snowflake, once it's built out of pipe cleaners, into a warm water and borax solution. They let it sit over 24 hours. And in 24 hours, they have a beautiful crystal snowflake that matches with their science experiment.
That is so amazing. You were absolutely amazing. I was literally walking down the hallway and I stopped in my tracks because I was like, what is going on in her classroom? Because I saw maker kits everywhere. It was amazing.
So when Jennifer's saying she saw maker kits, I'm going to actually try to see if you guys can see it. Right now on my tables, there are giant boxes of just stuff sitting on some of my tables. And that's because when we come back from winter break, my students are also going to be doing a really crazy elaborate project because I'm a crazy elaborate person. And so they're going to be doing a really elaborate project that's actually going to span over a couple days. So these kits are going to be elaborate to the point that these kids have everything they need and they don't have to bug mom or dad or go to the store. Because any project that I make for the kids, I don't want them to feel like I can't do it because I don't have the stuff. So anytime I make a project or anytime I have an activity, if I can't provide it for them, I don't do it.
I love that you're thinking about our children's needs, like our Siuslaw kids' needs. And we know that not all of our kids have their needs met. So you're amazing. Two things I thought of when you were presenting. The first one is I like to tell our library staff every day, I'm like, okay, let's fall forward today because that's all we can do is fall forward. Really, when I was looking up quotes about innovation for one of our state library presentations, 99.9% of the quotes about innovation talk about failing first, right? And so you were teaching your kids that and modeling that with your children. That's amazing. And the second thing I wanted to say, when I popped into Miss Aya's classroom, I was like, I wish you were my niece and nephew's second grade teacher because you're so amazing. Absolutely amazing. So I'm looking at the time and we have 12 minutes left. We were going to try to do this little kit and it goes really fast, to be honest. And if you all didn't get a kit, you can just watch to see how we do the copper tape and everything. But before we get to that, like, what questions do you have for the whole entire group, or what comments do you have? I feel so grateful to have you all sharing your awesome the last week before holiday break.
Hey, Jen, I was just going to say that was really, I loved seeing the tour of the Makerspace, and Chelsea, what a cool thing you're doing in your classroom with everybody. That's really neat just to get kids doing hands-on. I'm just going to do a shout out on Thursday night this week. We are doing a free Facebook Live event. You can make little mini ornaments. You can steal the idea for your classroom if you want to. We're doing this because we know a lot of people lost all of their everything in the fire. So they're cute little books. It seems like a perfect thing for media specialists and everybody working in the libraries. And they have little pages in them, and we're making these live. It's called Pour Yourself a Class of Art. So pour yourself a big glass of wine or have a beer while you join us. And we have, if you go to our website, here, I'll put it in there. You can download the materials list. It's all stuff people typically have at home. It's like little cardboard or colored paper and stuff. So please join us if you're up for it. I was just going to do a little shout out for that. It might seem like it might fit this group.
Yeah. Hey, and Alli, you're doing those how frequently? Is it like once a month or whatever?
Yeah, we're trying to do one once a month, and we're doing them free for the community. It's just sort of a way for us to stay connected while we're also separate. And so we've had different people volunteering to do stuff. I love your circuit idea. I wish we'd thought of that beforehand. You're brilliant, Jen. So thanks.
Circuits are
they're fun.
You get a lot of bang for your buck. You know, we did the same exact project, right? Didn't we have them do with the entire 5th grade at Siuslaw, which is like, I don't know, 120 kids maybe, for like $30. I mean, the supplies for paper circuitry is pretty reasonable, and you get a lot of bang for your buck. Anybody want to do any other shout outs or questions or just overall comments about how awesome everyone is?
I just want to say crafting has been my link to sanity the last couple months. I bought one little kit to make beaded ornaments, and now half of my living room is beads and wires. It just kind of grew. And so my heart is just with all of these makers and these crafters. And I love that Patrick has given us a citywide makerspace. Thank you, Patrick, for that. I look forward to stopping by when we're allowed to do that again. And I super appreciate the whole sense of community, the whole sense of, mindfulness of making sure that everybody has access to this. Miss Henry and I, our shared background is camp. And that camp is the place where it's like set apart from the real world, where it's a safe, inclusive environment. And I've always wanted to bring that out into the world, and it feels like Makerspace does that. So thank you for being part of that work. I super appreciate it, and I'm excited to be part of it in a little way. So thank you.
You're so awesome. Thanks for saying that. And in the library business, we often refer to those we call them third spaces, right? So it's not quite home, it's not quite school, it's this other space where you can exist. And I never thought of Makerspaces as third spaces, but now I am thinking that way. Awesome. Anybody else have any comments or anything you want to share with the group?
I just want to say that I really appreciate you pulling everybody together, because otherwise I would not have known what everybody else is doing, and it brings up so many good ideas. And kind of makes me feel energized, since it's been so hard with the kids not being in the school. It makes me have more feelings like I got to keep going, and this will be happening.
I think Makerspaces bring us all joy, right? It's like an easy way to bring joy. Thank you. Thank you for presenting again, Gigi. Any other
I just want to say that I really appreciate Jen for actually bringing all of us together, because there were some things, especially like Alli and Patrick, I didn't know that those things were around or that they existed. So it was really fun to see your maker spaces and see what's available to our communities as well, and to our kids.
Thank you for that. Hey, Alli, did you get enough time to share about how we could here in Siuslaw donate, or any ways we can help out with the Almeida fire?
Oh gosh, no. Thanks for even asking about that. Yeah, it's what's been interesting is, like, as people are finally starting to find some housing, I'm going through my own grieving process, because I think I naively thought, oh good, they're finding housing and like, oh, Talent will get back to itself, but they're not moving it back into Talent. They're moving to Medford and Eagle Point and Central Point. And so we've lost a lot of our families that normally live right here. There's a couple of groups. I can send you some links that are doing like holiday gifts. You can donate through Talent Maker City. We're setting aside special money to start building bookcases and dressers and other needs. We're doing some magnet boards. We're doing some, we're actually going to do some programming out at the expo where some families are housed right now temporarily. So Talent Maker City is a great place. Phoenix Talent School District is also a great place. They've been giving checks directly to families. So Phoenix Talent School District is a really safe bet for that too. Yeah, and just thanks for asking that. There's a really great need. And so every little bit, that's what I keep telling everybody, even if you got $5, it's like buying taking away your cup of coffee for the day and donating it to something that's going to go really, really far for some people. So thanks for asking, Jen. Yeah. And Jen, thank you for this. This is so cool. I just started an email to you saying it's so neat to see you inspiring people out at the coast. You were so inspiring here. So you're continuing to do it. It's rad. You guys are lucky to have her.
Thank you for that. All right, with 6 minutes left. Oh, we're going to light up these reindeers with 6 minutes left. And before I do that, I don't want to put Rachel on the spot, but do you want to say hi, Rachel?
Yeah, so I didn't have Miss French, but I did go to Talent Middle School, and I have your picture here. I was like, that name sounds really familiar.
Can you show us? Well, can we see the picture?
I didn't have you in class. What was your last name before you became Mrs. Henry?
It was Rachel Lawson.
Did I have you in class?
I don't think you ever had me in class. My husband also, he was Max Henry, and we both went to middle school there.
Oh my gosh.
So you have very long hair, and so I was like, wait a second.
Brown hair, yes, sure.
I don't know if I can make it really nice. But you're right there.
There I am, right there. I recognize me. It might be better for you to show off pictures to your coworkers of yourself in middle school, Rachel. That would probably go a lot further. Maybe you ought to have a staff, everybody share your middle school pictures.
Oh boy. Woo.
I'm so glad you said hi, Rachel. That's awesome. I love teaching at Talent Middle School. It's a really cool spot.
And it's so great that you're doing this. I was all like, I've never heard of this before, and I grew up there. And then like I realized like, oh, you started in 2015. I graduated college then. I am older than I anticipated.
I'm old. That was a long time ago that you were in middle school together. So so glad you're teaching. Thanks for doing that. That's the hardest job in the world, and I can say that after having done it and now doing something else. I have not forgotten. So thank all of you for that. Thanks for saying hi, Rachel.
What a lovely session of connecting tonight. Okay, so now let's connect our battery to our light. Okay, so in your little kit, if you have it, and if you don't have a kit, that's fine, just watch. We're gonna be awesome in the next 4 minutes. I actually gave everyone enough supplies for a do-over. All you need is a piece of copper tape. It's like a sticker, a coin battery, and a little diode. And I like to start kids out. I learned after our 5th grade lesson, like start everyone out by actually lighting up their light by just sticking it on the battery. Okay, the biggest thing you need to know is that there is a slightly longer part of your diode. It's hard to see here. Slightly longer end is positive, shorter end is negative. on your battery, the positive side is labeled, the back side is negative. So you always just need to connect positive to positive, negative to negative. And you can light up your light just by sticking the light on top of the battery like that. And then everyone got this little reindeer card and a little kit. And the intention is you just follow the little template and then you can stick it inside and light up little reindeer's nose. So you can apply your copper tape, everybody, right now to your template. And I recommend that you pull off just as much as you need as you go. It's like a sticker, but it can get kind of kinked up. And I'm going to start on the little part where it shows the battery there. You can just squish your way around the corners. I'm not going to show you with for the sake of time. I fold corners. Actually, I might even try. My document camera has been glitching out all day. But let's see if I can do this. With 3 minutes remaining. Can you all see my dot camera? Okay. So I tend to like to fold corners. So I'll go up and then I kind of fold them like a present. Like I kind of wrap it back at a 45-degree angle and then fold it back on top of itself. But really, I tell the kids, I'm like, as long as you don't break the copper and you just get it around the corner somehow, you'll be good. And for those of you who are joining us for electric journals tomorrow night, we're going to start out with this basic circuit template. Okay. And then, okay, I'm going to put my, so this is negative here. So then it's labeled negative on the template, a little hard to read. You have to flatten your diode like that. You can stick it under the tape. You can actually stick it on top too. Either way works. You just want a connection. Okay, so there's one side. I broke the copper wire. Now I'm going to put the copper tape on the other side. When we did this lesson with the 5th graders, we had just encountered a big power outage. So Alli, something I didn't know about the coast before I moved out here, we have power outages left and right. I live kind of out of town, and so we get to experience all that. It's kind of like camping at my house sometimes because we don't have any power, and then we're on a well. Okay, so I did one piece around the template. Left side, or the left side is negative, so the shorter side of the diode, back side, negative side of the battery, and then this right side is positive, and this is like our little switch. And if I did it correctly, you'll see your circuit light up. The first time I did a paper circuit, Alli was at our ed tech cadre, and Virginia always had those amazing maker. We started every meeting with like a maker activity. And I always, like, I was one of the people who never got, well, not always, but often, it wouldn't work for me. And it was so frustrating, right? And again, that's part of the lesson of Makerspaces is learning how to fail, fail forward and learn from your mistakes, okay? When we work with the 5th graders, we did have some kiddos who got frustrated because they didn't get it right away. But that's why when I did these kits and sent them out, I gave them an extra piece of tape, copper tape, and I think I gave them an extra diode as well, just so they could have a do-over. Or if they got this one down, then they could experiment and do something cool and creative on their own. So the last step of this, very fancy, I just stuck my fingernail through the nose. And I think that I didn't have this trimmed correctly, but the idea is that you can do your little template and then just put it inside of your card. And then you've lit up reindeer's nose. Oh, and it's 4:01. Okay. Do you all want to share? Were you, those of you who had a little kid, if you were able to get it and you want to share? Yay! Good job. And when I'm doing this with students again, just so, this is just a tip for moving forward for future reference. I will always have everyone start out by doing this so everyone can say they were successful. Just putting the light on the battery.
And I ripped my copper at 2 corners, but I made sure it overlapped and it worked.
Yes. Doesn't it feel really awesome when you light up your first diode?
It does.
Okay, and again, 120 5th graders, about $30 worth of supplies. There's so much you can do with paper circuitry, a lot of bang for your buck. Yeah. Okay, it's 4:01. Do we have any final comments or questions? There's the chat. Oh, good. Patrick, your 5th grader, did that activity with us. That was awesome. Yeah, and she was proud. I heard from a couple of parents about how proud their kids were by being able to light up that circuit. That's awesome. Okay. We could go on, and it's after 4 o'clock. So I will just say thank you all so much. Thank you, Alli. You are a gift and a treasure, and everyone just needs to know who Alli is, as well as Gigi. Gigi, not forgetting about you. Gigi's my homegirl. And yeah, let's just give her, and Chelsea, thank you for sharing. And Patrick, you're still on as well. Thank you. You all are awesome. And, you know, join us in the new year for more awesome PD sessions. Okay, take care. Happy holidays, everyone. Bye. I'm trying to find my end all button.